I'm Corey Rodriguez, and welcome to the Roundtable thing of Tomorrow's Hope. Here we have, please introduce yourselves.
I'm Vanessa Phillips. I'm the executive producer.
Andrew Blake, writer and assistant director.
Isaiah Pena, writer and director.
And we're Team Bad. Not really. Okay, so we're just going to have these shades on the whole time.
Because we're cool.
Because we're cool.
I'll probably take mine off halfway through.
No,
but
don't take them off.
Oh, we're just going to have questions.
Oh,
I
right.
think. Okay, first question. What is In Focus? What's that?
Okay, so In Focus is the name of our 48-hour film project group, and that is the only name that Isaiah and I actually agreed on. So we just rolled with it because it was like 20,000 names that we went through. So we were like, I was like, In Focus, and then finally he was like, I like that one. I'm like, shit, it took like 48 hours to get that one name.
Well, it's not like you liked any of the other ones before it either,
Well,
because they
you're
were
right.
just kind of like easy ones to think up, and it's just like, well, you know, if we have to, we'll
Yeah.
settle for it.
Yeah. So that's.
But
that's
In
where
Focus was like the one that's like, yo, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one. So that's how we came up with it.
So you guys are like the head of the project. What inspired you to take on this awesome feat and dominate it?
Well, I kind of always wanted to do the 48-hour film project, and Isaiah did too. And so we were like, why don't we just do it? And I was like, screw it, let's do it. I had a little extra money to mess with it, and we were like, okay, we're totally going to do it. And Isaiah kept on like, did you register? Did you register? Did you register? Did you register? So I was like, fuck, yes.
Just because I didn't want you to spend like so much money, because
Yes.
we wanted to hit that early bird thing.
Yes,
So-
I registered. So
And we registered, and I mean, from even before then, you had like 15 people already ready to go before she even paid for it. So everybody's like, "Are we still doing this thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're doing it." And then all of a sudden, the weekend came, and it was just like, "Oh, we're actually doing it."
yeah, we're doing it.
So on the subject of getting ready, how much planning did this whole thing take? Like before and throughout?
Well, it was kind of hard because the way the 48-hour film project works is that you get your genre, your character, your line of dialogue, and your prop all in one day, and then you gotta go.
Dang.
So we can't really, only thing that we can do is location scout. So we can't really prep. And so then when we finally did get all our stuff that we wanted, we had people here at HQ. We called it the HQ headquarters. And we said, this is what we got to do, and this is what we have. And then they immediately started planning.
Yeah,
Wow,
like
some serious shiz.
I remember it was me and Isaiah were here at the headquarters, and Vanessa and Chris were the ones that were at the bar, and they were like sitting there. We have these walkie-talkie apps that everybody has downloaded, and it was ridiculous. And everybody's beep, 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 and there's lag time and whatever. And then you hear the first thing, okay, we're getting our genre, and Chris announces that we're doing the road movie, and I don't even know where Isaiah was. I just hear fuck, and I was like, oh Lord,
The one
guess that's
genre
the one we don't want.
he didn't want, right? He'd rather done a Western musical.
Oh, I didn't
than
want
a
time
rock-
travel either, because those were like the two new genres. No, I think they had a road movie before, but time travel was like new. And I'm like, damn, I don't want time travel.
I know.
And then what is road movie?
Yeah, so
And then they
I'm just
said-
sitting there like, everybody, we can do this. Like, everybody, everything's okay, we can do this. Isaiah's like, yeah, we can do this, we can do it.
But you know what? By the time I got back, when me and Chris got back, they already had like a schedule set up, like when we were gonna film. Like they were just on it. Like
That's another thing going back that we prepped for. We had a schedule done. Like there was like a general schedule that I wrote up like the Wednesday, the week of the contest, and it was like, this is how much time we'll give ourselves to brainstorm, this is how much time we'll give ourselves to write, how to do night scenes, day scenes, resting. I was able to put resting times in there that we didn't follow.
Yeah,
Stuff
like
that.
it just
Didn't
got to the
follow.
point where like sleep was here, and then we're like, no, we got to keep going, and then we get to the end, and I'm like, I'm cashing in my 6 hours. If anybody wakes me up,
Yeah.
we're gonna have
Also,
some
because we
problems.
ended up adding sleep just into certain parts. We're just like, no, I'm gonna sleep
We
here.
shifted
Yeah.
sleep though. It was cool. It was cool.
Staggered sleeping.
So you guys had a lot going on, like where people were and having to talk and communicate with each other. How easy or hard was it to get everyone to get along and cooperate and get things done?
I will start that one because I've recently become the head of the organization that we run at the University of Houston, and so going from the head to have to sit back, and I was the writer and the assistant director, so that means here's the boss when it comes to visuals, here's the boss when it comes to the business aspect, and so having to sit back, that definitely for me took a good second to understand, but after a while I'd say that we got it taken care of and handled for sure.
It took a minute. It took because we actually had like 20 to 21 people on
So like
just
20
going
to
everywhere.
21 peas in a pod.
Right. So it took a minute, but like I'd say like after that first day, everything just melded and everything just worked out.
Awesome. And so I know that sometimes it's kind of hard to agree on one vision between the producer and the director. Were there any complications between you two, or did everything just work seamlessly?
Well, there was one complication, and I wouldn't call it a complication. I just think it just happens when you're doing projects like this,
Right.
and it's so fast-paced. But there was a visual aspect in post that that Isaiah just had in mind, and he was just like, "This is what I want," and I'm like, "I don't see it happening like that. I just don't want it that way." And he's like, "No, I think this is a good idea," and I'm like, "No, let's just get it." And the biggest thing for me is the time, because there's a time crunch when it comes to this. If it's not there on time, then we just lost all this money to even go into the project. So I'm like, no, it's gonna take too much time. And he just kind of put his foot down, and I'm so glad that he did, because the end was so amazing, and I'm like, wow, shit, he was absolutely right. So, because I was like, you know what, this is his visual, this is his thing, he sees it, and maybe I'm just not seeing it. So I was like, just do it, just do whatever it is you want, as long as it's done by the time that it needs to be done. And it came out absolutely amazing, and he was absolutely right, and I was absolutely wrong. So.
Right, and you say it came out absolutely amazing. Can you give us a particular scene or shot that was just your absolute favorite?
This guy. It was actually the end, which was the scene that I didn't want in there initially, when the two protagonists are getting to the inauguration, and they go like a flashback. And it was the flashback that I didn't want, but the flashback actually pushed the story all the way, and it looked so good. And so, and I know when I'm wrong, I can admit when I'm wrong, and it just turned out so really, just this amazing visual thing, and that's really what I like most about it,
That
actually.
campfire scene was on fire.
Yeah. Wow. He's so punny.
Yeah. It was really, it was that ending scene that made or break the film, because originally, like, the end scene had to be a flashback because the campfire scene that we have in the short was supposed to be a lot longer than intended, and we had to cut it down because it pushed our project over 7 minutes, because it can't be longer than 7 minutes.
Oh, yes.
So like, and for me personally, it was for the sake that, like, I really loved the way the scene was written. The actors liked the scene too, and I felt bad that the actors didn't get to have their moment of glory in the cut, because like the campfire scene, the first bit was good, but the second bit that got cut, it was like a piece that, like, yeah, you could cut it out, but it broke character development. And then, like, the actors, they did their best job, like their acting chops were shown in that scene, and we had to cut it out. So it's like, well, if there's any way that I could bring it back, I would bring it back. And so, like, I figured out, like, oh, we could bring it in the end as a timeline, because, well, luckily enough, like, the ending scene, the monologue was too short for what we had visually, so we had to break it apart. I'm like, well, then we could throw in the rest of the campfire scene into it, and it would, therefore, the actors get their moments to shine, both on camera or off camera, because there was also, like,
talk of voiceovers, and that's what I
doing
thought.
The voiceover,
that's
like,
what I thought would work best, but I was completely wrong.
It was just the sake of, like, showing the visual aspect first, so it's not a voiceover, more of it's like a scene, like,
right,
something that happens. It was weird, but there, like, the producer and the director, there's, like, the complications that arose were creative complications, and those are the best things. Those are the best complications to have, are creative differences, not like actual clashing of heads, like not actual decisions over the entire project, which would be like a nightmare.
If there was no conflict whatsoever, that the project wouldn't have been as good as it is now.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I'm very pleased with everything, with
also,
absolutely everything.
Blake, I noticed that you didn't get any input. What was your favorite scene?
I would have to agree with them. I mean, that ending scene, I feel like it really ties everything together. Like, without that scene, I mean, if you were to just cut after, I mean, even just take the audio out itself, like, there would be so many unanswered questions, but that right there really makes you feel that, okay, this is what the story's about. When you're watching it, you're saying, oh, I think this is what they're doing, and I know that this is what they're doing, and oh, they're traveling the road to get to this new hope, and where do we go from, where are they going from there? And then you kind of just really grasp why they're doing it with that whole final scene. And I just think that it went together beautifully, and the arguments were needed, but I'm really glad that Isaiah put his foot down a lot of the times that we decided to pull up some arguments. Because
but it wasn't just like he also listened to us
yes.
too, like when need be, and I think that all of us just not the arguing, but just the creative differences we pushed each other to like the limit of like excellence, and that's what we got. That's exactly what we got.
For me, the toughest part about this project was being the director. Cause like, it technically is like my first time being like a director on like a big project. So like, I didn't know where to start. And I think the best thing that I got out of it is that I was able to like put my foot down, but still have a listening ear. Like,
yeah.
I hope that didn't happen, but I felt like there was never a time where I ignored somebody.
There was like this moment with me and Isaiah from when we started writing to the beginning of the shooting of the very beginning of the short, and we're shooting that scene where they're sliding down the hill, and you have to like put on your big boy face and you have to just pretend like everything's fine, because to the actors and everybody else, they don't know that there's that tension before we even left headquarters. And we just had to sit back, because I mean, me and Isaiah never fight, we never disagree. I mean, but it's good that it happened.
And
on
when we
field.
did, we could tell.
Yeah, like
because we both knew that we were both being like super sassy with each other.
Yeah, and we can both be extremely arrogant.
Yeah,
I can push someone away and be like, I'm right. Like don't tell me that I'm wrong. And Isaiah can too. And I was just like, you know what, we can't do this. We need to work together. A director and assistant director, I mean, they don't talk to each other. Like, how is this gonna work?
It doesn't work.
Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting that we had that. I mean, you're bound to get like, you're bound to hit a conflict in something like this, because it's like it's something new and stuff. And the best part was just that we were able to handle it. Because, like, you're probably not going to find a 48-hour project where they're like, oh, yeah, we had no conflict. Like, there's going to be a conflict. The best part is how you solved it. And we actually solved it, I felt, 110% by addressing the issue head on.
And we became tighter because of it. And, like, now we're even talking about just doing future projects.
Because after that first night, the second day, the Saturday, was, like, the best part of the whole project. Like, everybody was working together, and, like, there was no, like, fighting. Like, Then the next fight didn't come until like that Saturday night, Sunday morning, but that's because we were all just tired.
Right.
Yes, like it just got to this point where like delirium wasn't even there anymore.
Right.
I guess on a personal note, I really liked the action scene. I was not looking forward to that at first, because I was like, we don't have much time. I don't know if this is going to be conveyed well. It's a road movie. I mean, it's not an action movie. I'm scared that this is not going to give off the right message, but I was really impressed with it. And also, I don't know if you could tell, but when Nick was going to hit the main bad guy...
The bad guy's my husband, by the way.
That was
Good
my
job,
voice
honey.
That was my voice that was played. And I was like, oh my gosh, that actually fit well.
It did.
Oh my gosh.
That's
and it was done
really
way
cool.
later.
Yeah, post.
It's really cool how these illusions can be altered by what you see and what you hear. So you can say bar, but they'll make the F sound and you'll hear far, because that's just how your mind works. It's crazy. And also in that shot, I was in the back of the van. So that was my debut right there. Yeah! Let's go.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
That's crazy how you say that, because I was really scared about the action scene.
We all were.
We wanted to choreograph a full fight, and we didn't. So then we had to think on set, like, okay, well, what's the way we could convey a fight without doing it? And Chris, the amazing cinematographer that he is, had the good idea of, saying, well, we'll just do it off screen traditionally, like every other person would in this situation. So we did that, and, like, the worst part about, like, I like off-screen violence, too. It's just the sake of, like, because it's a rushed fight scene, I was just worried that, like, maybe this isn't going to turn out as great as I thought it would be. And plus, I had never done a fight scene. Right. Chris had never done a fight scene. So, like, how good is it going to turn out? And, like, I kept hearing a lot of people after they see it saying, like, I really liked the fight scene. It was very tense. I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, and then that made me realize, like, oh, I'm so dumb. I realized I was trying to do a fight scene where I could have just directed for suspense and timing, and that's what happened, and that's why the fight scene turned out so well. Is because instead of action, we did suspense.
Well, and on a side note from that is, like you had said, we're doing this road movie, and the first thing whenever we hear road movie and Vanessa and Chris get back to HQ, we start thinking like comedy. So I'm sitting here screaming, who knows someone with an RV? Who knows someone with an RV? Like, that's the only way that I could think of having this kind of road movie comedy. But
yeah,
I mean,
all everybody's first ideas are basically like this whole like, let's have these people go on a road trip and like get to know each other, and like romance or like college or like comedy,
inspirational.
Yeah,
like,
and that's a lot of the reasons why I started to be quiet for the longest time, is because everybody had all these similar ideas, and here I am with like a little post-apocalyptic story that like maybe I shouldn't say this.
And then he says it, and I feel like there was like this, like millisecond of silence where we all just kind of turned and looked at him, and we were just like, Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that works.
And the reason like I had that is just because like I wanted road movie was weird. Like when we had it, it was just weird hearing it. You're just like, what is a road movie? So I thought, well, a good way to probably like loophole the 48-hour film project would be like, well, let's try to implement the other genres. Or when I thought, I'm like, well, if I had an idea for a story, I want to implement the genres I wanted to do into the road movie. And so like I thought, well, if I could do femme fatale, I want to make sure that we use the girl as the girl name rather than the boy name for the character name we were given and all that. And then just like, oh, maybe we throw a sci-fi element. And I was just like, I was basically like experimenting, and that's the idea that we had. And like it was weird to hear everybody accept it, because then I just felt bad in a way.
No, you're the director. That's totally fine, dude. That's your job.
Well,
Yeah,
I was learning about like what being a director meant during this whole project. So I was like, that was my favorite part. Is like now I kind of know what a director is. So
yeah, I mean you have the look down, obviously. Like,
Look at him, I know.
Jeez.
Well.
Also, let's switch gears back a little bit on the action scene. I just totally forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, that was during that was pretty close to sundown, and so we were rushed to do that scene.
God.
And it was crazy how well it turned out for how much.
The tension
time.
from that.
And I was
that
really
second.
impressed by that we were able to crank that out so fast.
Man,
and that just went down.
Let me tell you, the mama mode came out of me. I was like, let's go, we got 10. I was counting down. Y'all better hurry it up. I was like, oh my God, we're talking about stress.
And
that
then,
was stressful.
Yeah, and then like the asshole mode came out for me in that one too. I was really mad on that set. Like I wasn't like mad, but I was just like, damn, like I have this much time left. Like I was like pointing at the sun. I'm like, I got that much time. Like just
I was letting you
putting
know.
at the altitude, and I was just like with the actors. I was getting really like, come on, go, and
Oh
like,
my God.
and I was just like, I was being like a real kind of like rushing director in that situation, which is why I felt so weird about the fight scene. I'm like, that's probably if there was one part that I felt that I did the weakest, it was the fight scene. But people really liked it, and if people told me like, oh, I love the fight scene, like how did you do it? I wouldn't be like, I didn't do that. Like the team did that one, because like I wasn't in the mood to do that one by myself.
The blood.
Oh my. Hold on.
Thank you. Oh, the blood is corn syrup and dye.
The traditional like search up
And
blood.
I searched it up and I made it, and then Post made it look amazing, and I was super excited because it came out so well.
Oh my goodness.
My first time.
But yeah, the fight scene was just like, it was done well because the team was able to like pick up where I was failing. And that's why I was so glad to have an awesome team.
Well, I don't think you were failing. I think that you
well,
were
like
just doubting yourself.
I was doubting myself, and then I was also like not at my 100% mode because I had this negative energy in me of being
we were all like
slow
that,
and stuff.
like,
yeah, but everybody else picked up the pieces, and we basically were all different pieces of a puzzle, and we just filled each other's like connecting parts.
Once we realized we were all the same puzzle,
Yeah.
you know, there. I mean, I will say that there at that point. I mean, I do well with not sleeping. I don't sleep very much to begin with, but at that point,
Not me, honey.
One of the things that what me
rest.
and Isaiah were discussing was, I mean, before that, whenever we were having our discussion in the woods, doing the beginning scene, was that this is supposed to be fun, and that was what really bothered me, was that I allowed myself to not have fun anymore by getting so upset. And we're all supposed to work together. These will not work if everybody doesn't work together. So that was something that I had to learn. I learned on set right then and there, is that if you're not having fun, you are not going to give the 100% that you have to give to get the quality that we are shooting for.
For something like this, especially like being like amateur filmmakers, like pre-Hollywood, kind of like when you're developing yourself, like if you're not having fun, then where are you gonna get? Yeah,
with this
like,
time crunch too. Like they have this 48-hour time crunch, and we are amateurs. Like, give this to whoever in Hollywood, and I'm sure they can make
Knock
7 minutes in no time. But give them to
7 minutes.
us, and I mean, it was just that 48-hour, and it was like you could hear the ticking in your head the whole time. Even when you're sleeping, there's this ticking. And you're like, oh my God, I'm wasting time.
Actually, that was me when you were sleeping.
Yeah, I heard it.
But that's why when I thought about even doing the 48-hour, I already had everybody in mind that was perfect for their particular position. I already knew that I wanted Isaiah to direct. I knew that Chris is just an amazing cinematographer. I had to have Chris.
Also, on a note, Chris is our director of photography, and
he's amazing.
He did an excellent job. I'm sure he would bring up the lighting situation if he were here right now.
Yes, he would.
Chris's lighting situation.
Natural light.
I'm gonna cut to it right now. Cut to the first shot. Okay. And so you see that looks so well lit, and we didn't have any like actual lighting setup whatsoever. It was just the truck headlights and the phone lights that were on them, and it just looks phenomenal.
Actually, that part made me really happy because like Chris is a really good cinematographer, and it's just like, man, I want to grow up to be Chris one day. And it's just like it got to the like on the first night of shooting when we were like doing the scene where they're hiding in the grass. He's saying like me and him are looking at the shot. I'm like, you know, Nick's black. Like his lighting part's not gonna be good. Like we filled it up with the truck. Like one of our production assistants had a truck with like fluorescent lighting, like neon, like xenon lighting, and like that's the color we wanted. We wanted blue. Since it's a night scene, you want to match the moon. And so he had blue lights, which is really good on his truck. And so
the rest of us just pulled out our cell phones.
Yeah, and so I said like, well, what if we use the cell phone flash? And Chris is like, yeah, we could try that. And like we did it, and it worked. I'm like, yeah,
amazing,
I did something right.
Amazing. It was amazing. I was so happy. Like, oh my God, I couldn't even contain myself. It was amazing. Chris is just amazing. He should have been here today, but he's out having fun.
Fun that he deserves. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
seriously.
Okay, so we're waiting to run out of time. I'm going to ask the final question really quick. Do you have any advice that you'd like to give to others who may want to take on the 48-hour film project, or just any project in general for that matter?
Okay, first of all, be organized. Of course, there are going to be things that come up, but secondly, for the 48-hour film project is have a runner and edit as you're filming. That is so important because the time just slips by so fast.
And watching the films inside the theater, you could tell like, oh, you know, they either just had one runner or they didn't have any runners, and you can tell that, and that is something that is very, very important. I would personally say is, like I've said earlier, is just to have fun. Like, I mean, in the end, this is to have fun. You know, you win no matter what if you are having fun.
Absolutely.
And that's just what I would say, is just to enjoy yourself.
Mine would be to have basically, because there's a hierarchy to creating like films and stuff. Like you're gonna have your top dogs and like and all that, and then your bottom people. But like to make sure that there's trails that go up and down that hierarchy, that mountain. Like basically it's saying like understand who's above you, but that everybody has to.
People below you.
No, well, like that, but like basically you have to collaborate still.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't just be like, you can't be corrupt with like the power that you're given, or be sad that you don't have it. You basically have to understand that like there are voices everywhere, and working together is what's gonna get it done.
That's the beauty of film. It's just the biggest collaboration, the biggest. I can't do it without you. You can't do it without me. That's why I love it.
Okay. I guess that's it. I'm Corey James Rodriguez, and thank you all for coming here, because I made you come here. And also, we're about to cut to our actors, and we'll see how they do. All right, thank you all.
Have fun, guys.